Two interim heavyweight champs will battle it out on Saturday night over in London as long-standing WBO interim champion and former outright world champion Joseph Parker will take on the WBA's interim champion Fabio Wardley in a fight that should cement the winner. A shot against the undisputed heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk next. Unbelievably, the WBO are the only sanctioning body that even ranked Joseph Parker inside their top 15, which is frankly pretty criminal given his recent body of work, dusting off the likes of Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Zhang and Martin Bakole all in quick succession. Fabio Wardley, meanwhile, has had a slightly easier time of it on his road to a potential undisputed title shot than his New Zealand contemporary has. But that will matter little here should he manage to pull off the upset this Saturday night in his native country. Joseph Parker comes into this fight as the minus 600 favourite, with Fabio Wardley coming back as a plus 370 underdog this weekend. Before we get into a best bet for this one, as always, if you're enjoying the content so far, please do us a favour, hit that like button. It's always very much appreciated. And don't forget about Wager Talk's 30-day, 90-day or 1-year all-access pass, which is live on everyone's page right now, saving you a ton off regular daily packages. 1-year pass comes in at just under $6 per day, I believe. So lock in a long-term subscription, get on board the handicapper of your choice, especially with new seasons like the NBA just starting up as well. Great time to jump on board. Return to the best bet for this fight, and this is a potential banana skin for Joseph Parker, in fairness, especially if he's not careful. Parker's pretty much done everything right since hooking up with Andy Lee a few years ago, the Joe Joyce fight notwithstanding. And as we all know, styles make fights at the end of the day. But in pretty much every other performance Joseph Parker has been in since then, he's excelled. Parker really has looked like a reinvigorated version of himself since leaving Kevin Barry. With everything Parker has done, all the impressive wins he's accumulated across the last few years, the WBO did order a fight between him and Usyk back in July. Usyk, understandably, I suppose, asked for a 90-day extension after beating Dubois to that deadline, citing a back injury picked up in the Dubois fight. But that was before Usyk was caught dancing at a Ukrainian wedding. He's a good dancer, in fairness, which threw doubts on that supposed injury of his. So, it is interesting in the heavyweight division right now. But one thing you cannot fault is Joseph Parker's, determination and heart. Parker, I should say, basically got publicly embarrassed almost when Riyadh season said that they weren't interested in, scheduling a fight between him and Usyk. It wouldn't make enough money. Parker's not enough of a draw. Even after everything he's accomplished as well, which, while it may be true, Parker isn't necessarily any kind of face of boxing. It is harsh. He got clearly sidestepped by Daniel Dubois back in February of this year. Dubois pulling out of that fight due to a sudden illness a couple of days prior, only to then immediately agree to fight Usyk for a second time straight after. So there really has been some avoidance of Joseph Parker, at the top end of the sport, which is understandable because given Parker's level of ability, there's simply too much risk versus reward. With, him against Usyk, in my opinion at least, being a very competitive fight. And I already had a big 4% best bet loaded up on Parker, plus 188, I believe, to beat Daniel Dubois just before that fight was cancelled. So I really do want to see Parker kind of get his just desserts here. There isn't another fighter on the planet more deserving of an undisputed title shot against Alexander Usyk than Parker, in my opinion. And the crazy thing is, he simply could have waited and got his shot regardless. Yet he's opted instead to take this very dangerous fight against Fabio Wardley, instead. So hopefully we don't see that backfire on him here like it did in Joe Joyce when he was in the exact same position after the Joseph Parker win back in 2023. He was the WBO interim champion at that stage like Parker is now, yet he opted instead unwisely, as it turned out, to take on Zhilei Zhang in an unforced fight. Didn't need to take it. And the rest is history. Parker stated he wanted this fight to stay busy instead, instead of waiting around for whenever Usyk opts to face him. That might never happen. Usyk could instead obviously choose to drop the WBO belt either. But this is the reason why this fight is such a potential banana skin for Parker this weekend. It's mainly because Fabio Wardley, what he kind of brings to the table here. Wardley has gone down the white collar route in boxing. He isn't a traditional boxer by any stretch. He hasn't worked his way up through the amateur ranks and so on. And That's honestly what makes him so dangerous in there. There are very little lead hand battles going on in Fabio Wardley fights, for example. Not many, subtle feints and so on. Fabio Wardley generally is a Route 1 fighter in fights. Similar to someone, similar to Derek Chisora's mindset, you'd say, where, he just goes for the KO pretty much from the start of the fight. He's even more raw than Chisora, to be honest, because Chisora has some top-level boxing fundamentals under his belt. So Wardley really is the kind of fighter that, it's almost like throwing some amateur poker player on the final table in Vegas. The pros are going to be like, what's this guy's doing? He's technically off. But, just as Fraser Clark found out, himself an Olympian, in his rematch against Wardley, if you're going to sit around there, try to read Wardley from a technical standpoint, try to read his game, you're very liable to get your jawbone fractured, in the interim, as what happened to Fraser Clark in that fight. Wardley even sniffs that you're hurt, and he will open up pretty recklessly at times with both hands. He's very, very offensively minded. So I'm not particularly high on Fabio Wardley from a boxing perspective, but there's no denying that the guy can crack with the best of them. He's got colossal power with both hands. And I actually put out an article back in June, I believe, where I advised to play on Justice Honey, a free play, to win by decision at plus 470. And watching the fight, I thought it was in the bag, to be honest. Honey was so completely undressing Wardley in that fight. So badly, in fact. I think it was Michael Conlon actually tweeted out something like, let's wrap this up. Wardley's taking too much punishment in there. Live to fight another kind of day kind of thing. And then boom, round 10, one shot, fight's over. So this is a dangerous, dangerous fight for Joseph Parker this weekend. He's got to be completely switched on for the full 12 rounds as well. If a boxing match breaks out here, Parker will win every round, clearly, in my opinion. He's so much more advanced than Wardley is in every department. But similar to someone like Deontay Wilder, if you sleep on Wardley at any point during the fight, you run the risk of being KO'd. So, Parker does have some good whiskers on him, in fairness. He's been down a few times in fights, yet he always manages to get back up, even against Joe Joyce. That fight was waved off in the corner. So it would take something pretty incredible from Wardley to take out Parker with one shot here. But at the end of the day, that is the danger. He is a serious power puncher. So I do believe the odds are about right here. I would make Parker a substantial favourite myself, seeing as Wardley's really, his only real path to victory is a puncher's chance, in my opinion. But as we said, it is some punch. Therein lies the risk. But nonetheless, given the gap in technical ability, I would be on the Joseph Parker side of the train in this one. If I'm aware of the danger that Wardley presents at the end of the day, so is Andy Lee. I would imagine he's drilled it into Parker at this stage to be extremely careful in the ring. Don't get careless. So, yeah, Parker for me in this one. If you can stomach the outright, so be it. Otherwise, throw him into a parlay potentially. Method of victory is difficult to work out here, as Parker can crack himself. Just go back to his last fight against Martin Bacoli, for example. But if I had to pick a distance prop here, I'd probably look at the under 9.5 rounds at even money. That takes us to the halfway point of the 10th round. As given what we know about Wardley's style, what he will attempt to do here, plus the fact that Parker can counter that aggression with some terrific overhand rights and lefts of his own, this could well end inside the distance on Saturday. So for me, Parker to win, however you want to play that, with a speculative lean towards the under 9.5 rounds as well. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Can Parker solidify his place at the top of the mountain, lock in that Usyk undisputed clash, or will Wardley ruin the party here and claim the biggest scalp of his career so far? Let me know down in the comments section below, and don't forget to leave your own thoughts and predictions down there. Also, as always, thank you for taking the time to watch the video. It's always appreciated. And until next time, Slán Bhfuil, best of luck on all your bets.